We want to start the show by spotlighting a vendor we love, and today we want to share about Lens Pro To Go.
Lens Pro To Go is the place to go for your lens and camera rentals. Whether you're in the market for new photography gear and you want to try it out before you buy it, or you just need a lens you don't currently own for an upcoming shoot.
These guys
and gals
are awesome sauce. They are all pro shooters themselves, so they're available to answer any questions that you might have.
They ship anywhere in the US, and they include round-trip shipping in their prices and don't require any deposits.
Oh, did you mention that they ship in Pelican cases?
Oops, I totally forgot. Go to lensprotogo.com to get started and tell them Tog Tools sent you.
So enter Tog Tools Podcast to get 10% off. Check them out. Here's the program.
Hi, and welcome to the Tog Tools Podcast, where we get real about the business of photography. I'm Jess Robertson.
I'm Stephen Robertson. So let me set the stage just a little bit with a couple questions. Do you struggle with being able to get your clients to relax in front of the camera? Do you ever think about how you can make your brand experience more infectious? Well, today we're chatting with Peter Hurley. Peter is a successful photographer based in New York City who is absolutely crushing it. Peter's got a unique approach to coaxing the inner rock star out of his clients. He has an extensive portfolio specializing in advertising and commercial, and especially headshots. Not only is he successful as a photographer, but he's also launching a product business called Hurley Pro.
Awesome. So, Peter, I have to admit that out of all the photographers I've ever met or followed, you have such a unique story about photography. So I was wondering if you'd mind sharing a little bit about how you got started with everyone.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me on. This is really cool. I'm excited to hang with you guys and do this.
Thank you.
It is a random story of how I got into it. It just kind of happened. It was I graduated from Boston University with a degree in general health science, which I had no clue what I was going to do with it. And I started. I did what I did every summer, which is I raced sailboats. And the boat that I was sailing ended up becoming an Olympic class, so I was doing okay in it, so I decided I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to go try for the Olympics, which is kind of was passed down from my dad, did the same thing. So my dad's like, okay, let's do this and go for it. And it was one of the best experiences of my life by far, but I met a designer from Donna Karan. I got sponsored by DKNY. She called me up. She goes, "Have you ever modeled?" And I was like, "No, I don't know. Like, I know nothing about it. Like, my roommate in college was the guy that everybody thought would be the model, not me. You know, I was like, it's like the girls called him Adonis. I felt like this big around him. We would go out to parties. I'd be like, "Yeah, I know you want to talk to him. It's fine." So I ended up. She brought a photographer to take some press and marketing pictures for me for the Olympic campaign. Took the pictures, and about a couple weeks later, she said, I have a friend over at Ralph Lauren who's looking for real sailors for their ad campaign for summer '96, and they want to meet you. And I was like,
wow.
Okay. And I grew up all decked out in this preppy town where everybody wore polo. I was polo head to toe, I guess. It was so I think I'd gotten over it once I was in college or out of college or whatever. But I was like, this is cool. A polo model. Wow. I got to go check this out. So I went and we did a casting, and the photographer was Bruce Weber. I didn't get to meet him then. I met another guy who's an awesome photographer now. His name's Richard Phibbs, and actually the designer who I met is Arnaldo Anaya Lucas, his name, and these guys both became photographers too, so they're really good, so people should check them out. But anyway, Richard hired me for a job. I went down to Miami. I sailed in front of Bruce's camera, and he took some amazing pictures. And we became friends, and I found myself having a start of a modeling career. And over the years, Bruce kept saying, pick up a camera. Why don't you pick up a camera? And I was like, I don't know. Why would I pick up a camera, you know? And I mean, finally, I was doing these modeling jobs with all these really amazing photographers. It really kind of upset me that I didn't pay attention to any of the photography going on. while I was modeling, because I didn't ever think I would pick up a camera. But Bruce was very persistent. And if anybody here listening to this doesn't know who Bruce Weber is, he's the one you definitely have to check out. And he's my biggest inspiration, you know, and a friend, and the reason why I'm a photographer. So anyway, I picked up a camera, and I started, I think the modeling really helped me become aware of what what was going on in the industry. It didn't really help me. I mean, I didn't like being a model. I don't think it helped me technically at all, because once I picked up a camera and decided that I wanted to start shooting, I just became the most annoying model on the set for the photographers that I worked with. So they were like, "Don't hire that guy again." Just doesn't shut up. So I was like trying to be a sponge instead of work. So I was paying more attention to the photography. And that was I had modeled for about 5 years before I picked up a camera. So when I actually got the camera, I just became annoying. And I stopped working because I switched out of the agency I was in, which was a mistake. And then the new agent, like the photographers just got to know me, and we're like, no, don't book that guy anymore. So it was the worst thing for my modeling career, the best thing for my photography career, and I had to figure out how to make ends meet in New York with a camera. And I think that is should be a course like Business 101 or something like that. I mean, I really didn't know. I never took a business course. Nobody ever like gave me any advice business-wise. I think that I learned the business the same way I learned photography, which was trial and error. And that's kind of the way I roll. And I think that if I did it, anybody could do it, in my opinion.
Very cool. That actually is one of the questions that I had for you, because you're based in New York City. So obviously that's like one of the hugest markets, and talk about a lot of noise. How did you kind of stand out from the crowd and make yourself known as to who you were in such a big city?
It's kind of scary. I mean, I guess, you know, the song says it all. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. I feel like it might have been easier for me to make it there than anywhere else. If I was in the middle of you know, the country or something, I don't know how I would have made it. I think I was just there. I think the thing that helped me is that my modeling career got me into acting a little bit. I was just looking, and I think every photographer does this. You have a camera in your hand, you love it, you enjoy, you're artistic, you enjoy taking pictures. If anybody will pay you to take a picture of something, you'll take the money, like you should take the money for it, you know? So I wasn't thinking I'm going to be I mean, I was a model, so I was thinking I knew fashion photographers. So I was like, am I going to be a fashion photographer? I didn't really know any portrait photographers because I was always shot. Hold on. This might be that. Can I hold on. Let me just. Hello? Hi, how are you? Okay, great. We'll see you then. I don't know. We don't know. All right, thank you. Okay, bye. All right, can you clip that together or whatever? All right, where were we?
Just not knowing, as far as, you know, thinking you're going to go into fashion photography because of that kind of being your,
I mean, I didn't know. So I pick up a camera and I go, okay, the model, actor, bartender dude in New York. I live in a 5th floor walk-up, and I was like, I need to get this camera and figure out how to make some money with it somehow.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to be in the bar till 4 a.m. And I was like, okay, so what can you do in New York that you can, you know, make money at? I was like, I guess I could try and shoot. I was in a modeling agency, so I had paid photographers to take test pictures for me for my portfolio. So model testing.
Right.
So I immediately, this was my foot into the business, which was shooting models for their portfolio, which was more down the fashion line of, you know, kind of the way I was going. But what happened? Well, I had nothing to show them. There was no way I was going to charge somebody if they didn't know how good I was. So I started shooting my friends that were in the agency. I didn't have a makeup artist, so I had to shoot only guys, and I was just trying to make it with. But I was in a guy's agency, so the guys were accessible to me. So I went. And I would take these guys and I'd be like, look, and back then it was film, so I'm paying out of my pocket to shoot them for the film because I didn't have any pictures. They weren't going to pay me anything at that stage of the game. So I went and shot one of my friends who was with the agency that I was with, and the booker said, you could shoot anybody. These pictures are great. We're using them in his portfolio. I was like, cool, all right. So I had something, and I just learned as I went. I had some major flaws in my work when I first started, I guess. I mean, I was like doing stuff technically that I had no clue. I always tell this story. I booked, another friend of mine was getting married. So he's like, do you do weddings? And I was like, I never did one, but I could, no, I did start, forget the first wedding shot. I think when you get into, if you look at the entry points to charging somebody for photography, it's got to be like family portraits, kids portraits, maybe models or people who want to get into modeling, headshots, weddings, pet photography. I don't know what else. What else is there? There's babies. It's like all that stuff is going through your mind. Like, okay, I've got to figure out how to charge people and make a living at this. So I was like, I'll shoot a wedding. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. I should find the pictures of the first wedding I took. I don't know how many I've done. I quit doing it after the other business took off. But my friend was getting married, and he's like, you got to come shoot my wedding. I said, all right, I'll come do it. So I had another friend who was an assistant, but he had taken like photography courses. So we're running around, and I guess we got lights. I had lights. I guess by then I had some lights. And he turns to me, he goes, where do you want to put the key light? And I was like, I have no idea. I don't even know what that is. Like, but take that light over there and put it right here. I was like, I have no clue. Yeah. So everything I did was flying by the seat of my pants. It was like one thing after another, just trying to figure out how to get suck income out of this camera. And fortunately, I had some things fall into place that were amazing. One of them was I was modeling an agency, and I started shooting the models. The agent liked it, and I started charging them for the film, which was like $25 a roll or something. Then once I got enough of them, the models that wanted to get into the agency would find out about me, and those are the ones I charged. So the ones in the agency, they might have covered my film, they might not, but the ones that want to get in the agency, that need the pictures, want to shoot with the guy or that's shooting the people that are already in the agency, so they'll pay. So I think I charged like, I don't know, $75 or something to shoot my first model test shoot. I think maybe it went to $100. I raised my rates like $25 or $50 every time I got busy. Yeah. And the headshots didn't really come into play for a while. I was shooting models. But again, so the mindset is, I live in New York City. I have to pay for this apartment. I was actually at the time, my brother had a couple, he was renting his apartment. He had a couple of his roommates move out. So he had a 3-bedroom to himself. And I was just getting, back to New York. And I was like, do you mind if I, live with you till I figure this all out? I didn't have any income. So he's like, yeah, come crash with me. So 6 months go by. He just has me paying the utilities, which I really wasn't making enough income to cover that, I don't think, and eating all that stuff. And 6 months go by, and this was really the moment, when you're going like this, and then all of a sudden things turn, and you're going straight. And he said, all right, you're a loser. You got to get out of here. Like, you can't even afford, you got to get yourself together. I'm kicking you out. And he kicked me out of his apartment. And it was the best thing he could have done, because then I was like, oh my gosh. So luckily my girlfriend at the time was modeling. She was a model. And she's now my wife. she had enough income to get an apartment, and I wanted a southern-facing window. So I got this southern-facing window, so I could have like a big window to shoot, like get light in the apartment. So we found a building with a southern-facing window that was big, and it was a studio. And we moved in there, and now it's crunch time. Now I'm paying this heavy-duty rent, which she was covering for a while, and so until I got my feet under me. And what happened was the model would come up to me, and I was one of these. I was a model act. I was trying to act too, and I needed headshots, so I'd gone down the headshot thing. And in New York, the photographers, the best ones, were charging $800 to $1,000 for a headshot, and I was like, that would work. I could work with that if I could, I was like, why don't I just start this headshot thing? So models would ask me, they'd be like, look, can you do a headshot? I said, I don't know. I think you just have to move closer to the camera and look straight in. I think I can handle it. I'm going to try. But I'll tell you what, when people move closer and look straight in your camera, they get really blank.
Yeah.
And they look really petrified, and they don't look good. So it became trying to figure out, I was like, wait a minute, that's just weird. You just don't look cool. I was like, I can't take pictures that don't look cool. You look like you're spaced out. It's not cool to me. It's not, you don't look comfortable. So and that was in like 2002, 2001, 2001, and 2002 I started my headshot business. And
so we're talking 11 years of kind of pulling people out of that kind of state of looking like idiots into something that's like, holy crap, I look amazing. Like, yeah, that's what. Talk to me about like, what was the time that you're like, how does what I'm doing here, like, how can I get these people to look like rock stars?
Yeah.
What are you doing in that moment to say, okay, without putting them down, without like making them feel self-conscious, but make them feel, like they are rock stars, and you're getting that kind of shot. How did that happen?
Yeah, like where did those ideas come from too? And we've seen the art of the headshot, so we've kind of seen that that method. But yeah, I'd love to know where those ideas came from.
I think when you do it every day, so when I started, it wasn't like that. It was just taking pretty pictures and trying to get people to notice and come in your door. So it wasn't really about the connection. The frustration was that I didn't know how to make the connection. So not being able to make that connection, you go back to, okay, I got to make this picture look really good because that person's just with it. And then honestly, the thing that really brought my career on is that I think putting people in my portfolio that gave life to the camera without me really having to do anything. I think if you shoot 10 people, 2 of them are already rock stars in front of the camera and up your game big time.
Yeah.
And 8 of them are like, well, no, like 2 of them are really good. I would say 4 of them are good, but they're not that great, but you can make them better by talking to them and just having a good time. And then there's like 4 of them are whatever, the bottom 5 that you will never make better. Like, I mean, I do now, but it took me 10 years. Like, they suck. Yeah. So they're just terrible in front of a camera, and they just shouldn't be there. And they need therapy and all sorts of stuff. That's why I call myself 90% therapist, 10% photographer. Yeah. But the common mistake is that the photographers feel they have to put everybody they shoot in their portfolio, so they take those bottom 5 and they use those pictures and they mix them up in their portfolio amongst the other people that are the 2 people that made their portfolio rock. And now they have 2 people that rock and like 6 people that are mediocre. And clients look at their portfolio and go, I don't, that guy looks good and this girl looks beautiful. But these 3 are just totally, I don't want to be, what if I get that when I shoot with this person? So I think that was the biggest business move that I made. It was really only putting people in my portfolio in shots that I really felt said something and conveyed something and showed a spark of life of them being human rather than, I call it camera invisibility. Like if you get somebody in front of your camera I want them to look in the camera as if the camera was visible, as if it wasn't there, as if it's just a conversation between me and them, kind of the way we're talking now. Like there's cameras in between us, but there's not a camera physically in between us. We're looking at each other through this, and it's more of a human experience than if I had a camera in front of my face like this, going like this at you guys, and you were 3 feet in front of me.
Yeah. That's great advice, though. I love that about the portfolio. I think you're very right about that. Just no matter what type of photography people do, they tend to include a little bit of everything instead of just focusing on those rockstar images. So I think that's great advice.
So what's one thing that you're doing today, that is just markedly different than, Peter Hurley when he's starting in 2002? Just like one thing.
Just one thing?
Well,
I think it's, if it's one thing, it's confidence. Yeah. Somebody walks into my studio and I 100% have them covered, whether they know it or not. Like they could walk in and be a head case and be a mess and not think, and I've got them covered. Like I have no apprehension about what I'm doing or anxiety or anything. Like it's built in me. A lot of times, I think every photographer gets this. You get a big shoot or you get a big client, or you have, even if it's your first client, it's a big client. And if I'm shooting a big celebrity, it's a big client, And I think we feel these things like if photography didn't get my adrenaline pumping every day, I wouldn't be so into it, So it does get you pumping, but at the same time, the confidence. And I used to not be a very confident person at all. That's why, I know it can be learned. So it's just confidence is something that you build up over time. If I went back and could talk to that guy that picked up the camera in 2001 and told them what has happened, and that not to worry, and that you're going to be a rock star headshot photographer, and you're going to smoke everybody in New York, and you're going to have this business the way it is. I feel really fortunate. I think I would, if I was that person in 2001, I would just run to the bathroom and vomit or some sort. I would be so shaking and so freaked out. I would be totally out of my comfort zone. So I think now when people walk in my studio, I'm in my comfort zone. And I think that it's not about the camera and the lights. The camera, the lighting, the technique, the tweaks, the little things that I do, the ideas that I have, that's the art. Every photographer owns that. I do this all the time. I shoot. I do my workshops, and I have the photographers come in, and I teach them for a weekend. I put the person in front of the lights, and it's the same light. Everything's the exact same. I'm standing next to another photographer, and I say, I'm going to shoot him, and you're going to shoot him, and we get different pictures. We get different pictures because we're different people, we're different individuals. So I teach them the way I do it. What I want everybody to do is to take what I'm teaching and then make it their own, so that they can become the artist part of themselves, where that shows through. So I think back to your question, the one thing is confidence. Being in a comfort zone, being sure of what I'm doing when I press that button is the most powerful thing.
So walk us through one of your days. Like you're in New York. Walk us through one of your days.
I live 2 blocks from my studio. I'm entrepreneurial, of course. So I wake up in the morning and the computer gets on my lap, and I start going through my emails and because I have to shoot. This is the problem. If you're shooting all day, I find myself, I'm working from the moment my eyes open until they close at night, basically, because I'm shooting during the day. There's not time to get stuff done. I have clients in front of me. And fortunately, it's really worked out, and I've been really busy, and I'm not the type that works very well when I'm not busy. My wife is like, just go to the studio. Just go get something done.
Totally understand that. I'm the same way.
Yeah. So I've created all these other things that have just cropped up. I remember when I was shooting and I thought, this is a business thing. I thought, I'm doing headshots, and if you look at your business, your photography business, and you run the numbers on what you're doing and what you're charging and how much you can make and the upside, and I always had goals for where I would be. And what happened was I was like, wait a minute, I could shoot headshots till I'm blue in the face, and I can only make this much money because I can't be in front of the camera 24 hours a day. Or behind the camera. I can't get this many people in my studio. I was like, I'm doing really well, but New York City is like New York City. It's like the most expensive place to live. I got 2 kids. I've got a wife. I've got an apartment. I've got a studio. I'm like, I got to rock. So I was looking for, in 2007, I started to look. I had maxed out headshot photography. I had my best year ever. I was booked 2 months in advance. I was charging $1,100 for a headshot session, and I was shooting like a maniac, and you couldn't get in my studio, and I was tired. And I'm like, okay, I'm still... I'm doing well and I have a nice life in New York, but I was like, I got to get to what's the next level? Am I just going to do this? And I started to look outside photography for things to do, and this was the worst thing I could have done. And I started to get involved with the business that just kind of took my time and took me away from photography, and then I ended up really hurting my photography. So I quit that, and then things started to fall into place that made sense for me because everything I'm doing now relates to photography.
Yeah.
I'm a photographer. I'm always going to be a shooter, but I started teaching 2 years ago, and before that, I was scared to tell anybody what I did. I was petrified. I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing. These were like trade secrets. I'm like, I'm not letting this stuff out. And what I came to realize, it took me a while, but you can't tell yourself this. I couldn't tell myself, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. I started teaching and just giving away everything I can think of. People that come to my workshops and everything, I'm like, milk me. Like, hit me with everything you got. I want you to learn, like, whatever it is I could possibly teach you for you to go make money at this. And people came up to me and they're like, why are you doing this? You're creating competition for yourself, and you're this and you're that. I was like, look, first of all, to get to that level where I am with the comfort level and the confidence, I'm like, I know how long that takes. Like, and the other thing is that if somebody does, come in and work the market the way I do and do a really good business, it's time for me to move on anyway. So I couldn't be happier about letting the information out and teaching and stuff. And a couple years ago, I would have never said that. I would have been like it started when the FStoppers guys came into my studio to film me. They asked me if they could do it. I was like, yeah, come in. But I was shooting real clients, and I was like, I was trying to be like quiet, not really do what I do. Like I have this shtick, my shtick. So I was like, I was like, you guys got to get out of here. I didn't think I don't like when people watch me when I work with clients that are paying me to get a headshot out of them, because I think if you're shooting somebody and there's somebody behind watching, that's just not, I want to be intimate with the person. Right. Like, I want to get in there and I really want to work with them. So this was happening, and I kicked the guys out. I was like, you got to go. Come back later. I'll do an interview for you. Just come back later. So they left, and they came back, and we did this interview, and they launched it. And all of a sudden, all these photographers started contacting me and asking me questions and this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, I should have never kicked those guys out. So now we're really close, and we did the DVD, which has been really successful and everything. But it allowed me, the DVD is really, that and my teaching has allowed me to I can't believe that it made me a better photographer. Teaching made me better. It made me really think about what I'm doing. It made me fine tune it. It just, now there's so much on my plate. I run this site called ph2pro.com, which is my teaching site, and I'm doing an online, the Headshot Intensive Online is my course, And I do it twice a year. I do it in July 1st and January 1st, and it's a 12-week course. I think I'm going to cut it down to 9 because we're gonna get it. 12 weeks is so long. It's been 12. We're on our 10th week now, and I'm loving it. I've got 100 photographers taking it.
Wow.
And it's really fun. So anyway, I went off on a tangent, but
well, I know we were talking about an average day in the life of Peter, but what you're talking about kind of, it brings me to another question though that I have for you. And based on all the stuff that you're talking about, you know, most of the photographers that we've known that have been kind of killing in the business, they start as freelancers, kind of shooting only, and then they end up becoming entrepreneurs and teaching and writing books and stuff like you're talking about, maybe selling something. Do you feel like this is just an organic thing that kind of happens? Do you think this is necessary in order to thrive and survive in the market? Or what are your thoughts on that? It's just something that we've noticed has kind of been a trend.
I don't know. I had one photographer say, like, somebody asked him, when do you know your career is in trouble or over or whatever? And he said, when you start teaching. And I was like, wow.
No.
And, you know.
Snap.
I hope not.
Yeah. I think for me, it's a little different because in headshot land, I call it, it's not the most, you know, people don't, like, I call myself a portrait and headshot photographer. You know, I always talk about headshots because it is my niche. You know, it's the market that made me. It's the market that created everything I have. So I'll always be indebted to it. But for photographers to call themselves headshot photographers, I don't think people feel comfortable with that. I think they feel like they're looked down upon. And I'm changing it. I'm attempting to change it. So, and actually, you know, it's been a big question for me. All my site is very based on headshot photography. I've been fortunate enough to have clients that see my talent or you know, have given me shots to shoot celebrity. I always want to get into celebrity portraiture. It's definitely something that gets my adrenaline pumping, and I love it. So I have gigs where I get a publicist looking at my site and sees I'm a headshot photographer and goes, we don't want to work with him. To the creative director. It happens a lot. And the creative director has to stand up for me and say, no, he's good, you know. I do have to change my site. My site's been into a way where I want to make it, I really have to get it to the next level, which would be, all the work on there is really old. I haven't changed it since like 2006 because I've been so busy. I'm bad. Yeah, it's bad.
Oh, good. I don't feel as bad then about mine needing to be changed. That makes me feel so much better. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Most of those shots, I haven't shot any of those. I mean, those shots are all, unless it's a celebrity like I shot Sofia Vergara and I put her on the site, you know, that kind of thing. But it really needs a lot of work. But, you know, it's like having this headshot photographer thing over my head has been something that I've always struggled with. Do I want to just do, you know, if I take headshots off my site, then maybe I'll lose some headshot business. Maybe Google, the SEO won't be so good. Maybe I'll get more commercial work, you know. So I'm trying to walk the line of be a headshot photographer, but move my career along because the headshots, I mean, who's going to pass up $1,000 for? I charge. My rates were in August. I kept raising my rates. Like I said, in 2001, I started, and I was like $75 for a roll of film. And every month I was busy. I either raised my rates $25 or $50, something like that. And it got to be 2005. And this casting director called me, and she was sending me everybody. By 2005, I was already, I basically had run through the market and been considered one of the top guys. But the top ones were charging like $1,000, and I was charging $650, I think. And I was busy. And this casting director started sending me people, and I remember specifically, I met with this one girl, and she didn't book me, and I just felt like she wasn't going to book me. And I called the casting director and I said, thanks for sending these people, but this girl didn't book. She goes, yeah, because you're too cheap. I was like, what? She goes, she didn't think you were good because you were $650 and the other ones are $1,000, and I'm sending you the people to fix the $1,000 headshot photographer to fix their shots, and you're too cheap. And I was like, really? And she's like, start raising your rates. I was like, okay. So I was like, I'm going $50 every month. I'm busy until I get to the $1,000 photographers, and then I'm going $50 over them, and I'm stopping. So I did, and so that was whatever it took from $650 to $1050. I did it every month, and I was up at $1050. I should look at my accounting software and check that, but it got to $1050, and it got to $1,000. I'm like, all right, next month I'm going $1050, and I did, and it was $1050 for a while, and I was like, $1050 is weird. Like, wouldn't they pay $1,100 if they're going to pay $1050? So I went to $1,100, and I remember, because I had to change it on my site, I changed it in August of 2006 to $1,100, and I didn't change it until a couple months ago. My sessions for women were 3.5 hours, and they were 2.5 hours for guys, and it was killing me. So I was like, and I shoot a lot. So I was like, all right, I'm going to change my rate again. I was like, because I'm busy with other stuff. So I was like, I could raise my rate and I think it would fly. But I was like, what if I decrease the time and decrease the rate a little bit? So I decreased the rate to $1,000, and now I only shoot, it's an hour and a half for $1,000.
Wow.
And I do that. So, and I have to go back Monday, and I'm shooting like 7 people. So
do you have any like weird rituals or whatever when you're prepping for a session, or like is there any kind of like, you know, how do you prepare for a session mentally, physically, whatever?
I don't prepare for my headshot sessions. My headshot sessions are just, it's not, there's no preparation for that. It's just, it's so ingrained in me. It's when I get a Sofia Vergara, I got a call, and I think I lost this job because I was a headshot photographer. I got booked to shoot Kevin Spacey. I was supposed to go shoot him, and the creative director booked me. And he said, okay, these are the dates. We got to figure out how I was in Florida. He was in Baltimore. I had to get my stuff from New York down to Baltimore. My assistant was going to drive it down. I was going to fly to Baltimore. We were working out all the details, and it went to the publicist. And the publicist like said, no, we don't want to work with Peter. They probably checked out my site, saw that it was like not up to snuff or something. I didn't have enough celebrities. I've shot a handful of them. And I need to redo my site, I guess, to get that level of work. But it's tough, you know, to have, because I still want to get the people that pay the $1,000 every time they come in. I mean, of course, who would pass that up? Everybody says to me, they're like, you can never stop doing that. I was like, I know, it's great. And I don't market, I don't recommend this, but I do zero marketing for headshot photography. My assistant and I always have kind of okay, how are we gonna do some marketing? And I'm like, we have 50 million things to do. Like there's people walking in the studio every day. Like we're not doing that. So it's just being in it so long. I think everything that you do, once you do it for so long, like 10 years of sticking somebody in front of a white background with the same lighting and not changing it and just talking to them, trying to make them do stuff. I mean, everybody gets a little bit, burn out on occasion. I've been burned out plenty. So taking breaks and doing other things and traveling and teaching and doing the Hurley Pro stuff.
Talk to us about that for a little bit, if you don't mind. I know, obviously, we have the Pro Board.
The Pro Board.
Yeah, you got Pro Board behind you. So that is the Pro Board gloss. I can tell because you got a reflection in it. So it's really reflective. I started just thinking about what do I need in the studio that would be helpful for me. It's basically based on studio gear that I would actually want to have. And plexiglass is like the heaviest thing, and you can't bend it and you can't do anything. And I always had it because I like to put it on the floor and get a reflection out of it. So a buddy of mine from sailing is a plastics manufacturer. And I went over to his place, and he's like, what do you think of this? And he showed me that board. And I was, what is Like, why is that here? And how the heck did you make it? And it would be perfect. I need that. Give me that. So and I started shooting it, and I was like, oh my gosh. So this was like the easiest product to make because it was already, I stumbled upon it. I was like, wait a minute, I can roll it up. I can stick it in a bag. I can take it anywhere. I have some here. I'm taking it back to New York tomorrow. Actually, the piece I have here is the Matte Pro Board. So like for instance, we're doing video basically right now. If I was shooting you on that Pro Board, I would light it so that a strobe would hit it and there would be no reflection because it would go bright white. Right. But right now, I see you see the highlight behind you?
That's our fault, not yours.
No, it's a reflective board. It's supposed to do that. When you put it underneath something, it gives a really nice reflection. And for product photography, it's phenomenal.
Right.
Yeah.
But I wanted something matte for videographers to use. I wanted it for, because I use Kino. I use consistent lighting. I use Kino flows now. I'm developing my own line of lighting, which has been, getting into that's a totally different ball of wax than creating a plastic product with what's behind you. So it's been a lot longer process, and I've been having fun with it. But boy, it's thrown me for a loop too at the same time. Yeah. But it's coming. It's just a slower process. But anyway, I'm designing this Matte Pro Board, which is matte white on one side, matte black on the other, and I'm going to be announcing that I'm announcing it right now, but I'm gonna be showing it for the first time on Creative Live in a couple weeks.
Very cool.
Very cool. Very cool. We'll have to get that one next.
Yeah.
For our video stuff.
Yeah.
We'll have both.
It's cool, and the matte black is really nice because, like, for instance, Steve, you were wearing black and you're kind of dark and you're kind of like, if I put a black Pro Board behind you, you'd just be a bobbing head. If you flip that because it's glossy. But matte black kind of gives it a roughness to it, and I'm wearing black too. Like, you can actually get the detail on the black a shirt, and then you can see the black behind it. Really, it actually is pretty cool. So I'm really happy with it. I've just been waiting. I've been, ever since the glossy Pro Board came out, I never thought about matte, and I walked back into my buddy's shop, and he had this matte black, and I was like, wait a minute, that's awesome. Give me one of those. So I took that, and I started testing it, and I was like, I'm done. I need this. So that's the way it's been, and it's just things like that. You'll see little things come out. I got a really great idea that I'm working on right now that I'm just having to find. I had a designer bail out of the business on me because he had something. One of the guys that I work with, he didn't like, so he took off. So now I'm working out designers and stuff to keep it going.
Right. Very cool. Well, we want to, thank you for your time. And
I have one more question.
What?
Do you have one more too? No, okay, can we each ask you one more question? Is that okay?
Yeah, I didn't even answer the one of what my days are like.
Yeah.
We kind of got a little bit of it, but do you want to finish that one?
Let me do that one. I'll do it real quick. I walked from my home 2 blocks to the studio. Well, I wake up, I start doing emails, I go nuts. And then I get my kids to school, or my wife usually does.
Wait. Do you walk by Argo Tea there?
I do walk. As a matter of fact, I saunter by Argo Tea on a daily basis, usually 2 or 3 times. Tell them the story.
Tell them the story.
Oh my God. Okay, so I'm in New York City. I'm at a sailboat in Chelsea, and I'm on FStoppers, and I just finished reading an article on FStoppers, and mind you, I've seen Peter's your advertisement up there with Art of the Headshot, and I literally closed the tab in Safari. And like 15 seconds later, here comes Peter walking by, and I'm like, he's right there. It was so cool. It was just funny.
The best part was him calling me. Yeah, he had to call me and be like, I just saw Peter Hurley walk by.
I would have been like, that is so weird. Is this a sign I'm supposed to go grab that guy? Or what do I do?
Oh my God. Awesome. Anyway, sorry. I interrupted your story.
Well, I'll let you.
So I get in the studio, and I'm a photographer, so usually I don't start shooting before 10 or 11. If we get it, like, I don't get there early. I'm doing my stuff and whatever. But I'm still working at home because I get up and I do my emails. But usually a girl's in makeup for an hour or so. So if we book a girl at 10, I'm in at 10. The makeup artist starts, and I have an hour to get my stuff together or do consultations. So we do consultations during that hour. If it's a guy, I just start shooting. But then I used to do, like, for instance, on Monday, I think I have 7 people because I changed the times and condensed them. Now I can shoot more. And the reason I have so many is just because I haven't been in town for a week and a half. I had to bail and juggle. So usually on a usual day, I'm shooting probably 3. I usually go for shooting about 3. 2 or 3, sometimes 4. I mean, sometimes I'm trying to do, if I'm there and I'm not traveling and my schedule, which I haven't been there much at all. If my schedule is, open that I'm going to be in New York, then I usually try and get some Hurley Pro stuff. I'd like to go in, shoot 2 people, and then work on other things. But if I'm not there and I'm traveling, I'll shoot 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Doesn't matter. I might shoot from 9 in the morning till midnight. When I was starting, just for those of you listening that are starting your business, I'd shoot from 9 in the morning till 3 in the morning if I had to. Like, just if the business is there, you just do it. Now I don't crush myself like that unless I'm traveling, and that's the case this week. So I got a cram schedule, which is good because I haven't been there. And again, as a photographer, I have a couple other sources of income with the coaching and the Hurley Pro stuff. But if I'm not there behind that camera, that's my main source of income. So I have to do it. So, and I took off the month of July, and because I was traveling and I was with my family down in Florida, and then I just took off the last basically 2 weeks. And I still like to sail, so in September I'm doing 2 regattas, so I got to get sailing, and so we're just trying to get the shooting in, and this anyway. It's fun and it's mayhem, and I love it. So I shoot about 2 or 3 people. My assistant's there to help me all throughout the day. We work on a bunch of stuff. I usually am in the studio once I'm done and wrapped. I usually get home around 7 or 8 at night.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so what's your question?
I'm going to ask the last question because, I like to have the last word.
Well, what if the question's the same question? I have a question.
Okay, I'll let you go.
Like, it has more to do with, like you've got this, extensive experience, this background, this history in this industry. There's a lot of, newbies coming into the fray. So what's one piece of advice that you would give a new photographer?
It's the same advice I always give. Get as many, if they're going to do portraits, get as many people in front of your camera as you can. Be shooting a person, a human being, every day. Shoot a person every single day. Your goal should be to shoot somebody different every single day.
I think that's going to be the quote for this podcast. Shoot a person every day.
And hopefully they understand the context.
Yeah, really.
I made these T-shirts way back when I was cranking along. I was like, I should be giving all my clients T-shirts. Let them. So now and they were walking around the city with them. And on the front it said, "I've been shot," and on the back it was Peter Hurley Photography. And people are like, you can't send those out that's not politically correct anymore. Like, people just don't want to hear that they've been shot. It's just not. It's not cool. So I don't think it would fly these days, but I did it for years, and people liked it. And my friends would call me, I just saw somebody with the T-shirt on walking in the mall or whatever.
That's great. That's great.
Awesome.
All right, your question.
That was my question.
That was your question? All right, well then can I have another question?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so we like to just kind of do a gear, head kind of situation.
Oh, a geek out?
Geek out.
Geek out on the gear?
Geek out on the gear.
Okay.
What's one thing that you're changing maybe in your repertoire of lighting that's coming up here maybe pretty soon?
One thing that's changing in my lighting?
Yeah, like, because you're talking about you were shooting with Kineflows and you're moving to something
Yeah, I'm moving to the Medusa. Well, my lights are, it's called the Hurley Pro Medusa lighting system. I called it a Medusa just because, you know, I thought it was cool. I want and you couldn't look at her, otherwise you turned to stone. So my lights are so bright that you can't look directly into them. Otherwise you got issues.
I'll spit out my water, thanks.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a ways off. Like, if it's got my name on it, then it's got to be right, you know. And I, like, for instance, that board behind you, like, I went through and it sounds like I just took the board that was there, but I tested a million boards. There's, you know, I wanted to make sure that it was right. So with the lights, it's going to be a while, but what I do want is I want to go LED. I want to be mobile. I want to be able to cruise around with them. With Keynote Flows now, it's very hard. You've got bulbs that you're worried about breaking. You've got ballast that you have to carry around. So I'm trying to do a lighter weight, more easily portable light that has a lot of spread. So they're long and skinny, but they're not like compact and harsh. So it's a really soft light. So to get the quality of the light, the color, the intensity and all that, has been way more difficult than no, it's about what I thought it would be, but I thought I could pull it off sooner, but I was like, no, it's as difficult as I thought. Is it happening? Yeah. And what is it going to get me? One is one of the things that's always bugged me is that people with sensitive eyes, you can't really tone down Keynote Flows very well. They have a Tegra system that's got a dimmer on it that's okay, but then you can't. I like having control over each bulb that I'm firing at somebody. So we're going to do an app that's attached to the light that allows you to dim each bulb, so that I can create. Let's say I'm shooting you right now. I could create a gradient over your face, like I could fade the light off your face with the dimming of the bulb. So I could have the brightest one near the camera and then tone down each one to the outside. And I can control the fall off as it hits you to control how soft it is and stuff, and where the shadow, how much shadow density there is, and that side of things. I do have another thing up my sleeve that I just started, which I'm going to announce at Creative Live, but I'll give you guys another thing that I'm announcing because this is about business and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys do this, but photographers need to accept payments in all sorts of ways. And I about years ago, I had to get, I forget how I did my first credit card. I remember I took cash, I took checks, I didn't take credit cards for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I think I started out doing PayPal for a little while. But anyway, I got together, it was maybe in 2000, maybe 10 years ago, with this credit card processor who was a friend of a friend. And he's been doing mine for about 10 years. And we decided to start our own payment processing company for photographers called Hurley Pro Pay.
Nice.
So, yeah. So
I'm interested.
So yeah, so what we want to do is make it competitive rates, make sure, I mean, I know a lot of photographers are using the swipers on PayPal or Square and stuff like that, but I wanted to do something that's a little bit more competitive than that, so that, you know, and make it a niche group of photographers. And we're doing, like, we're going to do debit cards and like all this stuff. And this guy's a brainiac with it, and he's like, I've seen you grow from when you started with nothing from me, and now you're doing this, and with the following and everything. I've just had a lot of photographers ask me, how do you process payment? And I was like, it's the same as like when I taught with Keynote Flows. I was like, why don't I make my own lights that do what I want? I could just sell them. It just makes sense. It's just, so now we've got we're just launching it, so it should be up and running in the next month.
Very cool.
Yay,
that's amazing. That is so cool.
Excited about that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Wow.
So
Cool.
look at the way the sun's changing.
Yeah.
I just noticed I can see the palm tree now behind you on your all-white wall.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice, though. I like it.
Direct sunlight through the palm tree. Yeah, that's cool.
It's kind of cool looking. I like it.
That's very
Oh
cool.
man, we just want to thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time. We really appreciate it,
Absolutely.
Peter, and everything that you shared, and just love it.
Oh, definitely. I appreciate you guys. I'm so glad you got the Pro Board. That was exciting, and
And you can
I
count on us getting the next one.
Yeah.
I just and I love the story. The story was the best. The Argo story.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna forget that. I was like, what? That was
I'm like,
awesome.
how does that happen? But
That's cool. That's cool. So we were meant to get together. Very
yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Peter.
good. All right. No, thank you guys, and definitely keep in touch. And I'm psyched that people will be hearing it. And let me know when you get on the site.
Awesome.
Oh, absolutely, we'll do.
Very cool.
Have a great night and a safe trip back to New York.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. See
Hey there, friend. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope that you're able to implement some of the tips and strategies discussed in this session. If you'd like to learn more about Tog Tools, please visit togtools.com.